Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast on the Fontana podcast. So today, the previous topic was on sort of injuries and how do we, cross train and how do we stay motivated during an injury, especially through lockdown. But today what I want to talk about is returning to running when you feel ready, when you feel that injury, you feel that tendon or that muscle or that ligament is starting to heal up and you're starting to figure when is my injury ready to actually put some load through. And speaking to physios, I actually get treated locally at the Glasgow City physiotherapist, Scott McCauley, but then also previously I used to, and still do, go to a guy called Craig Ruddy, who was also local to me, but now he's moved down to London as a physiotherapist. And these two guys are super knowledgeable and they, make me think in a different way, because sometimes when we're injured, we're in our own heads, aren't we? Like we can be very defeatist in ourselves. We can really give ourselves some really bad negative self-talk and beat ourselves up and put ourselves in a really bad place, not just physically, but mentally as well. And then when you're mentally not ready to, do anything, then you don't feel the urge, you don't feel compelled to want to cross train or want to hurt or want to suffer or want to feel uncomfortable doing your cross training or going back to some sort of light running. So first and foremost was the way I used to get back from running. I think all of us predominantly do this, probably besides a lot of, I think it's elite athletes that now do this sort of approach. Is so beforehand, when you get back from an injury, what do? You start at 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, right? You start with that on a Monday. If you clear 15 minutes, you go to 20 minutes. Or if you clear 2 miles or 3 miles, you go to 4 miles. You always always keep upping the volume. We always look at upping the volume, but never really the intensity, because we think that will usually come along the way with upping the volume as you get fitter again. And that, that's a sort of traditional old school way and an old school approach. But what I've learned on this part of my recovery process and returning to running plan is a different approach. What I mean by that is running and walking. And I know that sounds, when it was Craig Ruddy that actually sort of gave me the idea. And I felt, I was like, really? Like running and walking? I don't walk. I'm a runner. I don't walk. No way. During the marathon build, you kind of do like wave thresholds. So you're running at tempo pace, and then your recovery running, say my recovery run would be around like sort of 5:50 to 6 minute mile pace. And my effort would be down anywhere between 5:20 and sort of 5:05 mile pace. So the thought of me getting back to running and walking, at the start it was actually jogging and walking. I was kind of like, I don't really know about this. But every time I kept doing that traditional method of, go out and do 4 miles on the Monday, 5 miles on the Tuesday, 6 miles on the Wednesday, 7 miles on the Thursday, before I knew it, I started to feel the ache and the recovery time decrease and the injury sort of pain increase. And I was like, I'm kind of out of ideas here. And also when you keep doing this as well, like you keep running easy at so my easy pace would be anywhere between sort of 7:30 minute mile pace to 7 minute mile pace. And when you're running at those sort of paces, let's face it, we don't win races at 7:30 mile pace. Like, let's really think about this in a rationally logical way and method. We do not win races at 7:30 mile pace. Maybe ultra 24-hour races, but in terms of the retrospect of the track up to the marathon, we don't win races there. So why do we keep sort of wanting to keep soldiering and struggling on with the ache and the injury when we're running maybe way outside our effort pace or session pace or tempo pace? We're doing it to ultimately we're doing it to feed our ego, because it makes us feel better and it makes us feel as if we've done something for the day. And there's two sides of the coin. If you want to feel better, that's brilliant. But some people who might be listening to this also want to perform better. And performance is not always all about volume and all about just getting it in. We need to focus on quality as well, quality of the running. So this sort of running and walking approach took me by surprise. But I thought, you know what? the definition of insanity is doing the same old thing, expecting different results. And I thought, do you know what, I've been doing a lot of different things through the last build and I still get injured. Like I said, I've been doing everything right. Instead of running 110 to 115 miles a week, I've only been running about 80 to 85 and I still got hit with a little, curveball. And that's, like I said, that's life, these things happen. This one was harder to take psychologically because I literally thought I was doing everything right. I was down at what I would perceive as a low mileage for myself being a marathon guy. And I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. So I took 4 days off, complete rest, no cycling, no cross training. I just wanted to give that posterior tibialis just time to really settle down and recover and do its thing. For 4 full days, no cross training, no running. For the next 4 days, all I done was cross train. So I was just on the bike for 45 minutes, spinning away, no sessions. And then went to see Scott and, got my exercises, single leg STa&x, isometrics and concentrics and eccentrics, all that fun stuff. And then sort of returning to running was, try for 15 minutes if you feel good, maybe just nudge it up a little bit. Everybody's got their own return to running plan, but I also sometimes I've got a way of putting words in physio's mouth. So I'll be like, so is it okay to do 3 miles? Is it okay to do 4 miles? And, with my sort of personality, I think, some people would go, yeah, it's fine, aye. Because maybe they think I know what I'm doing, but sometimes at the end of the day, the physios are the physios for a reason, and they ultimately know as well. And at the start, Scott was like, yep, 3 miles, perfect. And it was perfect. I went 3, I went 4, I went 5, I went 6, I went 7, I went 8, I went 9, I went 10. And I got to building up to 10 miles. I thought, oh yes, this is amazing. I'm probably going to get back. The next day I woke up and I thought, this isn't quite right. So I went back to Scott again at Glasgow City Physiotherapy. And it was that time where I said, I gave myself 2 days off, Scott. So do you think I could go out and do 5? And he looked at my post-tib and he looked at my ankle and he was going, it was the first time I think that he's actually stepped in and really commanded and went, no, Sean, I don't even think. He said, if you even feel that good, I think a 10 to 15 minute run would be absolutely the maximum you can do today, because that's not looking as good as what it did when you took the 4 days off and the 4 days cross training. He actually also advised maybe you should take another day off. Gutted to hear it after running 10 miles a day before, a couple of days before. So I'm going, right, these guys know best. The reason I'm in this position just now is because ultimately I thought I knew best with my running and with my approach and things. So I was like, right, taking a step back, listen to Scott. Scott gave me all the exercises again, more exercises, flexing my toes and things like that, putting a pillow underneath my toes when I'm doing calf raises and stuff that helped hit that STa&x a little bit more in that post-tib. So that was amazing from Scott's point of view. And then I spoke to Craig. I was just, catching up with him. Then we spoke about, training. We spoke about coffee. We spoke about the marathon. We spoke about, just that coffee, lads, and running. That old podcast that we've done together with Kenny Wilson as well on here. So he spoke about this running and walking approach. We actually talked about jogging and running, walking approach. So basically all I had to do, first day back, and I don't know if this might help anybody out there that's struggling to find that, if they're doing that old school way of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile, if this might help you, right? So what I done was, I don't know if it was a Monday, I can't remember what it was again, but on a certain day, after speaking to Craig, after listening to Scott and taking a couple of days off to let the inflammation settle down in the tib, I went out and done 16 minutes of walking and running. 1 minute running, 1 minute walking. Actually, my bad, I walked on the first minute to warm up the tib. So I walked and ran for 16 minutes, and that gave me a total of 8 minutes of walking and 8 minutes of running. And do you know what? I know it was literally nothing. I covered less than 2 miles actually. I was just over a mile and a half. 10-minute mile pace because of the walking and the running, adding up on the average. And I was actually, just in terms of, I looked at this and I thought, this is a really cool way. One, it's actually enjoyable because I was out there, not pushing too hard, and I didn't really feel the post-tib being too sore or too achy. The minute recovery gave you time for your heart rate to come down, but also the minute of running, you could focus on your form a lot more. Like, you were a lot more focused and in tune for just 60 seconds instead of 4 miles or 5 miles, focusing on your form. You kind of dip in and dip out of how your running form and how your running technique is. So I found this to be really amazing in a way of like the psychological and the physiological part and the biomechanics as well, because it gave you, right, just 1 minute, you need to make sure you're running properly, your ground contact's good, your foot contact is, 4-foot striking, the foot striking underneath you, make sure you're using your arms, all these sorts of things. Like, I could actually focus for 60 seconds on just my running form, and then for 1 minute I took recovery and I walked, and it was super enjoyable. I texted Craig back and I said, I can't believe that was actually that liberating and that amazing. So what I started with was 1 minute on, 1 minute walking. So 1 minute on of running, 1 minute off of walking. And the next day I bumped up to 20 minutes. So 10 of running, 10 of walking. And basically from there I went 90 minutes of running, 1 minute of walking. And I'd done that for a cumulative time of 20 minutes again. And after a couple of days, I've been doing it now for 30 minutes. So what I was doing was 2 minutes of running, 1 minute of walking, up till the 30-minute mark. Whatever, that landed on the run or the walk, I just stopped at 30 minutes. And now I'm up to 3 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. But this is where the difference is in terms of this returning to running plan. During my runs now, because I am getting fitter and I'm cross-training, my 3 minute run is now down at sub 6 minute mile pace, and my walk is for 1 minute to recover. So even though I'm not increasing the load, I'm increasing the intensity. So when I get back to running properly, my easy runs will be back at 7:30 pace, and it won't be as hard for me to achieve that training session intensity. So this is something where I think it's super different, it's revolutionary, and I feel that it's going to help you get back to your actual training session intensity a lot faster than just easy jogging all the time. So I know that seems a little, it seems different, but I think there's a lot of elite athletes, and I think I can remember Andrew Butchart saying when he was coming back from his last surgery, he said something along the lines, I mean, you could quote me if I'm wrong, but I think he said something along the lines of, I don't easy run, I do like some sort of variation of sessions. And I think he might have been meaning this thing where what you do is you don't warm up and you don't cool down. And the first, either at 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 minutes, basically what I'm trying to do is build up to 30 minutes of continuous running with no walking recovery. That's it. That's a plan that's been set by Craig, and that's what I'm looking to achieve. Just now I'm at 3 in 1, and I'll look to do 4 in 1 tomorrow. And what I'll do is I'll complete that as well. So I'll do 3-1 on the Monday, I'll do 3-1 on the Tuesday, and then if there's no reaction, I'll then go up to 4-1 on the Wednesday, and then I'll redo 4-1 on the Thursday to make sure that I'm retesting just to make sure I'm not upping the intensity of the load too quick, too soon. So back to that thing that I was talking about where I think I heard Butchart say this, and this is why I think subconsciously I gave it a try, was there this return to running programme where when you come back from injury, it's a minute of easy jogging and it's a minute of walking, and you do that maybe times 15, times 20, times 30, whatever it may be. But what it does is it allows you to not be in a cycle of continuously just easy running and easy slog running, because at the end of the day, we want to get back to performing, we want to get back to sessions, and we want to get back to the intensity, because we know we can get the volume eventually, but it's harder to get to the intensity that we want to achieve, to get to the fitness that we'd like to be, to run the personal best that we'd like to have. So this is where it's been really refreshing, where actually, maybe my first 3 minute effort is around 7 minute mile pace, but then as I can see in my Garmin or Strava that the intensity goes up, I'll then go down to 6:30 mile pace for the next 3 minutes, maybe 6:15, 6:10, 5:55, 5:50, 5:30. And what's happening there is it's basically like mini little sessions over and over and over again without increasing the load in terms of the duration, the 30-minute window. It's staying the same, but because I'm getting fitter and my posterior tibialis isn't getting as run down by the higher volume all the time and been stuck in a rut of just the easy run, 7:30 pace, 7:20 pace, 7:10 pace, all these sort of paces, it's actually getting a stimulus back on the load that will help it respond better when I get back to training sessions. So I'm actually really loving this sort of return to running approach. If none of that made sense, hopefully it did make sense, but I want to just try and help people have a different mindset and a different approach. And if you have not been running for a little while because you've been injured with, like, say, an Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, posterior tibialis tendonitis, a little stress response, stress fracture, whatever it may be, honestly, give this a try. 16 minutes, 8 minutes of jogging and 8 minutes of walking, intertwined by minute of walking and minute of jogging. The first session I done, it was around, I was probably running around 7:30 pace to 7:20 pace, like just being really easy and focusing on form and focusing on my cadence and my ground contact time. But honestly, I get in the door and I actually said to Caroline, I was like, I think this is a way forward from injuries, a different way and a different approach. And you can get the intensity out of it because you're getting that little minute recovery. And I mean, you can do it in a different variety of ways. It's kind of just like a mini light interval training session. You could do 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. You can do 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off. You can do all these things, but what I think is really good about the recovery phase and then the intensity phase is it just gives you time to switch on and switch off psychologically to really focus on form and stop repeating the same poor technique patterns that we may have been doing, especially myself, what I may have been doing during just easy running, because your ground contact is not the same. You spend more time on the ground when you're running easier than when you're running faster. The forces that you distribute through your body, your feet, your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles is a lot more intense when you run faster, mimicking you getting back to training, than it is you always running easy. And just, again, you're also working in the specific energy systems towards getting back fitter, faster. And also you're focusing on your mechanics of when you are back to full training, when you're doing your high intensity training sessions. So if anybody is stuck, again, you can give me a message, Sean@fontanafit.co.uk, to speak about this more. If you're really interested in that sort of approach, I can just give you a little bit of advice. But again, trying my best to give people some education, a different route to go down if they feel that they're stuck at a crossroads and they're banging their head against the wall because they're doing that same traditional old school just volume, no intensity, and then they break down again and then they need to go back to the start. Maybe just give this a try. Like I said at the start of the podcast, the definition of insanity is doing the same old thing and expecting different results. All right, guys, hopefully you liked this podcast. If you did, give it a wee thumbs up, give it a share, give it a like, give it a tweet, or whatever you cool kids in the block call it. And I'll see you soon. Next up, we'll have a special guest on. I won't tell you who that is until we get the podcast rolling, but it's going to be on mindset. So please tune into that one. It's going to be on mindset, how to basically help athletes, help sports performers achieve a higher mindset, a higher level of performance through thinking about your training, thinking about the body and the mind being as one, decreasing your anxiety for performance, and also basically the toxicity of maybe social media and things, where how do we combat not caring about what other people are doing and just focusing in on ourselves. All right, so again, you can catch me on Instagram at Sean.Fontana. You can catch me on Facebook, Sean Fontana. You can catch me on YouTube, Sean Fontana. Yeah, you can catch me, and then you can catch me on my website at www.fontanafit.co.uk. Over and out, guys. Have a great week.